Please note that as of now, you can support the channel by becoming member using the join button under the video. Members can get access to special members-only badges, emojis, posts, polls, short videos and long-format videos. Thanks in advance. Now, let's play the video. Hello, you wonderful critical thinkers. A few days ago, I made a YouTube short video called "The Christian God is Powerless." In that video, I briefly explained the concept of an all-knowing God being totally powerless, because if he knows everything, he already knows his own decisions in advance, meaning that he cannot deviate from the decisions he already knows he's going to make. And not being able to deviate from a decision means that you're not able to make any decision, which means you're powerless. It's one of the many problems of the concept of an all-knowing God. In the comments section of that video, I had a discussion with someone calling himself Stephen, and I explained the problem to Stephen using this example. If your God already knows that I will eat pizza tomorrow, can I then eat something else tomorrow? Color me surprised when I watched William Lane Craig's latest video, in which he discusses the same problem as I did in my YouTube short. And in his video, William Lane Craig uses this example.
If God already knows that tomorrow you will eat pizza for lunch, then aren't you unalterably locked into that choice? When tomorrow comes, how could you possibly choose anything else?
What? Am I supposed to believe that all of that happened by chance? No, it must be design. Therefore, pizza gods exist. Let's see what Craig has got to tell us.
God is all-knowing.
Well, first prove your God exists, and then we can see what he knows and what he doesn't know.
The Bible says, nothing in all creation is hidden from God's sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of Him to whom we must give account.
But why would anyone care what the Bible says? It's a poorly written storybook, full of examples of horrible violence, utterly immoral acts, and silly magic. So anything the Bible book says about a supposed God is pretty much irrelevant, as long as nobody proves that this God character actually exists.
Perfect being theology also supports this idea.
Perfect being theology. The mumbo-jumbo these people come up with if they don't have facts to support their fantasies. It's most amusing.
According to this line of thinking, God is the greatest being that could possibly exist.
Yeah, and according to perfect wizard theory, Gandalf is the greatest being that could possibly exist.
This means that whatever great-making properties God has, He has them to the maximum.
Ah, great. So that means that Gandalf has maximum wizard powers.
So God doesn't just have some knowledge or even a lot of knowledge. No, if God is the greatest conceivable being, He must have infinite knowledge. This property is called omniscience. It means that God knows everything that's true and does not believe anything that's false.
Look, I'm still following your logic here. So the Lord of the Rings says that Gandalf exists, and perfect wizard theory says that Gandalf has maximum power. So would you now agree with me that Gandalf knows everything?
But does it make sense to say that God is omniscient? Let's look at several challenges to this idea. First, if God knows in advance everything that happens, then isn't everything fated to occur? For example, if God already knows that tomorrow you will eat pizza for lunch, then aren't you unalterably locked into that choice? When tomorrow comes, how could you possibly choose anything else?
Ah, finally, the pizza. Well, Craig, this is where you could have stopped your video without making even more of a fool of yourself. Indeed, if your God already knows that I will eat pizza tomorrow, then can I not eat pizza tomorrow? If I can skip the pizza and have burritos, then God's knowledge was wrong. If I cannot eat something other than pizza, then I have no free will. Well, that's kind of a problem for Christians, because it means that an all-knowing God cannot be an all-powerful God. If he knows everything, then he cannot change the future that he already knows to exist. If he can change the future he already thought he knew, then he is not all-knowing. What a mess.
To understand this argument for fatalism, we need to clarify two important terms.
Yeah, in order to make your problem disappear, we need to introduce words that are totally unnecessary to solve this problem, so that you can create a smokescreen, starting with fatalism. We don't need that word in any way to deal with this problem. The problem is simple. If God knows that I will do X, can I then choose to not do X? That's the only thing you need to answer.
Necessary and contingent.
No, we don't need those words in any way. All you need to do is answer this question. If God knows that I will do X, can I then choose to not do X?
Now let's look at the argument. First, it's necessarily true that if God knows something will happen, then it will happen. So, if God knows that you will eat pizza tomorrow, then you will eat pizza tomorrow. Second, suppose that God knows you will eat pizza tomorrow. Third, therefore the fatalist infers, necessarily you will eat pizza tomorrow. And since you will necessarily eat pizza tomorrow, your choice is not a free choice. It is fated to occur. In other words, God's omniscience entails fatalism. The problem with this argument is...
Look at that smug face. Craig really wants to pretend that he's going to say something very smart here, while the only thing he did so far was introducing three totally unnecessary words, being fatalism, contingency, and necessity. We can handle the logic of this matter perfectly fine without that smokescreen. The matter is very simple. If your God knows that I will do X, can I then choose to not do X?
That it's just logically invalid. From premises 1 and 2, it follows merely that you will eat pizza tomorrow. It's not that you will necessarily eat pizza, it's only that you will eat pizza. It does not follow from premises 1 and 2 that your choice is necessary or inevitable. Your choice to eat pizza is contingent. When the time comes, you could choose to eat tacos instead. But you won't.
But how would you know that I won't? You can only know that I won't if you know that I can't choose anything else. So that means no free will. Not for me and not for your God. Because he also can't do something other than he already knows he's going to do. Therefore, your all-knowing God is powerless.
What happens here, I think, is that fatalists confuse certainty with necessity.
No, what happens here is that you confuse giving an answer with dodging a question by introducing words that are totally unnecessary to answer that question. If your God knows that I will do X, can I then choose not to do X?
Since God is infallible, we can be absolutely certain that whatever God knows will happen. So
there you go. You admit it yourself now. If God knows I will eat pizza, I will eat pizza, meaning that I can't choose to not eat pizza. This is just how your own logic works, if you choose to imagine that there is some kind of all-knowing God.
But the fact that God knows in advance that an event will happen...
You kind of seem to forget here that your God is timeless, remember? So to your God, there is no in advance.
Does not imply that the event happens necessarily or inevitably. Those who infer that necessarily you will eat pizza tomorrow are thus guilty of committing a basic logical fallacy.
Well, the only one who's using the words necessarily and inevitably in his argument is you. So I'm fine with you calling your own imaginative atheist argument a fallacy. I've never presented my argument using those words, and I don't think I know of any atheist who does that. So let's just stick with your own words.
We can be absolutely certain that whatever God knows will happen.
Great. So then the question remains, can I choose to do something else than what your God knows is going to happen? Please answer that. But the whole problem is that this is the exact question we started with, and you pretended that you were going to answer that question in your video. But of course you don't, because you're a Christian apologist. You are supposed to try to talk your unproven God into existence, and of course every time that leads to silly gibberish that proves nothing. The only true biblical miracle is that people pay you for that. Thanks for watching.